We're going to talk about libraries now, how to install libraries and place some parts out of a library. If we go to our component tab, you can see I have my miscellaneous connectors, miscellaneous devices. I got a lot of parts available there. But I want to be able to install a library. So we downloaded a lot of libraries. We had the ECE library, and then we had that big giant Altium library that we installed, or we didn't install it, we downloaded it and unzipped it. So to install a library, under components, we'll come here where it says operations, file-based library preference. I'll click on that. And you'll see here's a project, here's installed libraries, and here's a search path. So I'm going to go to installed, and I'm going to say install. Now when I tell it install, it's going to pop up here integrated libraries on the bottom. This is the type of filter for the files. I want to see all the files, so I click all files. And here's where I'm currently storing my version of the ECE library. And you'll see I have a schematic library and a PCB library. That's going to be the schematic symbols, and the PCB library is going to footprint. And the footprint is going to be what the part actually looks like on your printed circuit board. So when I look at a footprint, you can see like a circuit board here. I can see the pins. This is a giant socket that'll hold like a PIC processor or an Atmel processor. Here's a small board, little tiny surface mount footprint. The schematic symbols don't change, the footprints do change. So I'm going to tell it to open those. There we go. Now look, I have schematic and I have a PCB, so I'll say close. When I come back here now, I have my ECE schematic library, so I can open the schematic library. Here's all the parts I have right now in the ECE schematic library. These are very useful parts. They're all parts that we have available here. There's many different parts. Here's the switch. Let's see what else. Precision. Yep, the 1661. You're going to use that in your designs here eventually. Here's another switch. There's a LCDs. There's a 10-pin LCD, and there should be a 16-pin. Here's the LCD 44780. That's the one that you'll be using in your projects. And the 1632 op amp. Here's a hole, just a hole. We use that for mounting. Once you make your circuit board, you'll want some holes on the corners of the board to mount, so you can put screws and mount it on something. 1 amp diode, audio jacks, a USB jack. There's a lot of different parts. So to place these parts, it's going to be the same function. I can come over here and say, oh, okay, I want to mount this LCD. I just double click the LCD. I place it here. I can come up and say annotate it so that everything is numbered. There. Now I have my LCD. At any time I can always come to the properties and look at the properties of the LCD. For instance, here's the footprint. I can ask it to show the footprint. It's hard to see it here, but you can see all the little pins right there. That gives me the properties of the LCD. Let me just highlight that and delete it because we're not going to use it. If I wanted to add a different library, I can come back to operations right here and tell it install. And now I want to look at the place that I downloaded that giant file. So for me, it's going to be up here. Let's see. Oh, I'm in the Protel Designs. I want to go here. Protel, by the way, is the name of Altium years and years ago. Before it was Altium, it was called Protel. And it was two different companies actually. One made the schematic capture and the other one made the printed circuit board routing software, and the schematic capture was called Protel. Later they changed their name to Altium. Alright, so here's an Altium library unzipped. I could come down here to, let's see, microchip, and open up microchip, and look, here's the 18F series microchip microcontrollers, 8-bit, pick 18. I can double click that. I now have that installed, so if I come to my libraries, I can open this guy up and see all the different 18F series that are in that library. Let's see, 18F. There's a 46, let's see, a 4620 is 4680 is pin for pin compatible for what the 47K40 is. And here's one right here. So if I double click that and stick it here, I can right click on this and say show me the properties, the same as going over here to the properties tab, and there's the picture of it, the 40 pin dip, and there's the IC. So you can see how you can add parts and add pieces out of your libraries. Now I want to get rid of that. There we go. I think that's about all we need to cover right now in our adding libraries function. So it's good for you to practice that and open some libraries and add some parts and look at the properties of your parts. Alright, we'll stop here and we'll continue in the next video.